Welcome to Stock Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff, and I want startup businesses to be wildly successful. So today we're going to be talking about branding and positioning your startup in the marketplace with Kelly Lynn Adams from kellylynnadams.com. So welcome to the shows, Kelly Lynn.
Thank you, Mary. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. So let's talk about branding and positioning, because you're the master of that, right?
Yeah, I came from the fashion industry. I was working for a lot of retail luxury brands like Kenneth Cole, Gucci, DKNY jeans. So you can imagine that positioning and branding is really everything for a business.
I guess so. How important is it for a logo to have something to do with what your company is?
Yeah, I think it depends on the industry and the business. Like for a personal brand, I think there's a little bit more leeway and flexibility of who you stand for, what you are. And for, service and product-based businesses, yeah, it has to make sure, they know what it is specifically. So I think it's important. Absolutely.
Okay. How does a startup create a brand?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you already have a business and a brand, right? If you're a startup. And what I love is that one tip I really, really love is like, who do you want to be known as, right? Because we can have, for example, Olympians. There's all different types of Olympians. They're Olympians. They're amazing at what they do. But why do we know Michael Phelps and maybe we don't know the other Olympian, right? So it's really looking at how do you want to be known for? Like, is there one or two words that you really identify? It's really identifying how you want to show up and how you want to stand out because, Mary, it's very noisy out there, right? The social media industry and online and even offline. So it's how are you going to separate yourself and what do you want to be known for?
Especially, and a lot of startups that I work with are developing apps. And to be able to come up with a name and colors and things that really put your app out, separating you from the rest of the crowd can be a real challenge. Yeah, one of the things I always recommend is when you're even thinking about naming your company, see if the URL is available.
Absolutely.
Make sure that you can have a URL of the name of your company.
I would say too is even a step further, and this is like a couple steps further, is how do you want to make people feel? And that also ties into like the mission of the company and the values. Like, what do you stand for? Because a lot of people, if you have your top 3 values of the company and what you stand for and the mission and maybe the amount of lives that you want to change or how you want to be of service in the world, that's huge because you stand out in the marketplace around that. So it's also answering those questions because it positions you very powerfully if you know that and you know how you want to make people feel as well.
That's also a great way to focus your message so that it's extremely clear what it is and who you serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we're talking to everyone, we're talking to no one, right? That saying. So it's getting crystal clear. And what I will say is this, even if you don't have it, don't allow that to hold you back either, right? Just keep moving forward because I know when I first started out, and I'm shifting a little bit too, but when I first started out in my business, I didn't really know who I was serving, but I just kept doing the action and then it like uncovered it, right? So you don't have to have all your T's crossed and I's dotted. Sometimes it's just get into action and you will find out, it'll become clearer and clearer of like who you want to serve. If you don't know, and that could go for anything. If you're stuck in an area, just get into action and see what feels good and the actions that you take.
That's called market research, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what other tips do you have about positioning yourself, particularly when you're brand new?
Yeah. So I would also say it's who do you want to be known for and how you want to make people feel, but it's also like strategically, can you partner with people or companies that it'll make sense or that you want to be like in their world, right? So it's like those strategic partnerships or placing. Can you place the product, right? They do this with Super Bowl ads, right? Okay, we're gonna have after, the alcohol, we're gonna have a car commercial. Like they're very strategic in the way the ads are run. And of course, how much they're paying, right? To be in that ad segment. But if they think, okay, if I want my ad to be seen at halfway time or halfway show, like we want to be at this. So that you also want to look at that from other brands and other products that you want to be near, or just it's basically power is in the proximity. So where do you want to start showing up that you will be strategically placed with that person or that product or service? And just thinking about that strategically. They do this also at supermarkets, right? In stores, it's like, okay, why is all the candy and like magazines right near the cash register? So it's quick, those quick items. So where do you want to be placed and seen, even on social media too?
Those impulse purchases. And it's about, you want to be next to people that maybe have the same potential clientele as you do, but who are not your competition. That's what's called a strategic alliance. You have the same clientele, but you do different things for them. So that way you can kind of market each other as well, right?
Yeah, and it's also like, if we just think of food, right? If I'm looking at Cheetos, Doritos, and I want either water or soda or something, right? So it's like, oh, that would be complementary. So it's also looking at it like definitely a strategic partnership, but what is also complementary that could really help the business or their product or service?
Sounds good. Well, this has been very helpful. Do you have any other particular tips you want to do about branding or positioning?
Yeah, I would just say, just like in the fashion and retail world, you may not know what's going to sell. You may have some market research what is, but the best thing that I learned, one of the best things is, just create and start getting into action, and you will find your answers. You're going to see what works, see what doesn't. Just don't try to be perfect, because that does not exist. It's you taking action, even if you don't have the whole plan, and then the plan and the answers will unravel.
Yeah, the two great phrases are done is better than perfect, and
Yes.
good enough is good enough.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's always room for improvement, but you have to start, and you have to, like you said, keep moving forward. Well, thank you again, Kelly Lynn Adams from kellylynnadams.com. And this is Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startup businesses to be wildly successful. So book a strategy call with me at businessriff.com and join us again next week for Stuck, Time to Improv.